Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on The Weekend Show. Just last week, we spoke about citizens' participation in governance. How important is it for us to take an active role in ensuring that we play a role? We don't always have to sit down and wait. Now, some young people have taken a step further to think about and look at how we can be active, also going forward with something called a boot camp, which they will be talking to us about. Joining us,
We have Amos Ugedeojo, who is the founder, Young Leaders' Rights and Patriotic Initiative of Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Nice to be with you this morning.
And also, we also have Emo Kinyovo Otarigo, who is Executive Director, Impact Driven Young Leaders Initiative. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a video which we'll watch shortly, but just before we play the video, can you tell us about what the event which you had was about?
So it's all about, the program is called Active Citizens Bootcamp for Young Leaders. So the idea is that, we're in a country where we have people talk more about problems and few people prefer solutions. So we feel that it's our responsibilities as young leaders to start grooming more young people who will be active citizens. And being an active citizen means that young people who are interested in looking at the challenges in the society and proffering solutions to them. And when you talk about active citizenship, we're referring to people who have taken a decision to participate in the process of governance as a way of sustaining our democracy.
Let's see the video.
Program, you'll be engaging with people who will share knowledge with you in view of building your capacity to solve problems. And the first person that we'll be inviting here is somebody who has done a lot in building young people. He's a leadership coach, and I would encourage you to sit back while we bring him in.
People come together, they're all part of the class, they're all training, they're all developing themselves, and the next couple of weeks someone is appointed a minister from the class. Meanwhile, imagine if you were the person seated next to that person and you never said hello, or you never added value to your conversation, or you never reinvented yourself in such a way that you can be perceived as somebody of value who can contribute to society and make society work. Imagine if that happens, then immediately, as the culture is, once the person announces the minister, you begin to look for a number. You call another person in the class. Remember that? Do you have a number or his number? And by that time, it's what? Yeah, absolutely. Because you'll now be rushing into somebody's life that you have not invested in. Therefore, let me, from this point of note, congratulate Ovo for congratulating for putting this together.
The Active Citizens Bootcamp, the idea behind it is we wanted to create a platform where we can groom more young people who will believe in the concept of Nigeria, who will believe that problems in the society can be solved when citizens are involved.
That can help young people develop love for nation and help young people reinvent themselves and recreate such a passion to serve nation. Our nation is the only thing we have right now. And so nations of the world that have made great progress, there are nations that have invested heavily in the leadership development of young people. No nation can grow until young people are taught the importance of patriotism, the importance on how they can become active citizens serving the cause of good governance and helping to ensure that in whatever sector they are playing in, they can maintain the honor of becoming a citizen that is respectable, adding value to their communities, adding value to their system. And at the end of the day, if we can continue with this type of messaging, and then young people can grow with such a passion for the growth of Nigeria.
Active citizenship, that bootcamp looked really interesting and insightful, actually. So, in the context of democracy, why is it important? Why is active citizenship important? Why are you trying to pass that message?
I think first of all, you need to look at the theory of active citizenship, and it begins with participation. At the stage of participation, one has to take a decision. So, in a society where you have millions of people, you need to have people who will take decision to indulge in the process of governance. That's the first stage. The second stage of the theory of active citizenship has to do with interest. So citizens must be interested in things within their environment, which means that you see somebody in a community sees a bad road. Yes, it's the responsibility of the government to sort out the problems in our facilities, but the citizens can come together as well to solve some of this problem. And when citizens take interest in the community and indulge in those activities, they bring solutions faster than government intervention. Then the third part of theory of active citizenship has to do with action. Now, you've seen the issues within the community, you've taken that decision that you will participate, then you move to action. So the whole of the story about active citizenship is talking about moving from ideas to action. Take action, participate in the voting process. When issues are not proper in the society, you can petition the authority to act, When there's injustice within the community, you speak up. Many things have happened within our society and people remain docile because they feel that they are not affected. But on the flip side, tomorrow it gets to your turn and you expect people to speak up. So the thing is, as a citizen, we have to be active. Let's get indulged in the processes of democracy.
Amos, I would classify myself as an active citizen.
Oh, that's
I
interesting.
don't know what Andy has to say about that.
Yeah, we should all be.
Okay, so can you also tell us, what are the key responsibilities of an active citizen in democracy, in strengthening democracy?
Okay. Actually, if you look at it from human rights perspective to governance, like election, even down to health, education, there are bright minds. I'll call active citizens bright minds. These bright minds are the ones who look beyond themselves, that there is a problem that needs an attention. And from that thought process, they come up with a solution. And this solution, when implemented, either in unison or in a group, begin to serve as catalysts for change. For instance, in democracy and governance, like we have election, you look at it beyond my community just complaining about poor voters turnout or crisis during election and all of that, and you look at it, what can be done? So we're not focusing on just the problem, is what can be done, the solution now that matters. And at that point, you now look at mobilization of people to vote. Then you now talk of how to conduct people peacefully in the course of voting. And for us, in European, in partnership with Ideal Initiative, in the last election, for instance, we took it upon ourselves to educate the people about their right to vote. And even while people were complaining that vote don't count, we told them if it doesn't count, they wouldn't have come to you to sell your vote. And because of the enormous promise given to us by INEC, we banked on that, went to the street, and transferred people's voting location from one place to another with our own devices. And then we also try to help them solve their problems. And of course, that contributed to the large voters turnout we saw in the last election. So we look beyond the problem to profile solutions. And I could also remember vividly in 2019 when we had prison reform program too. And that was when that advocacy began. And when young people are at the center of anything, it brings more life to it. And we had a roadshow in partnership with the Center Cure Nigeria, Citizens United for the Rehabilitation of Errants. And we did a very massive roadshow in Abuja here, and we went to Ministry of Justice that prison has to be reformed because we have projects that run in prisons, Suleja prison and the rest, and we saw the condition of inmates and all of that, and now people are put into pretrial detention and just being abandoned there. And through that advocacy, just not quite long, we had Nigerian prison service being changed to correctional service because that is the true sense of it. So that is what active citizens is all about. Don't just look at the problem and fold your arms, but look at what you can do in the immediate, either alone or with a group of people. And that is why the Active Citizen Bootcamp became very necessary because people have to be taught, they have to be equipped on how to go about these things so we could help grow this nation, Nigeria.
Oh, so before we go, I would like to know, looking ahead, what do you envision the future of active citizenship in Nigeria to be?
Yes, in all honesty, I think that if people have more knowledge, they will become more active. As part of what we train the young participants in our boot camp is that if you don't ask the right questions, you may not get the right direction. So when knowledge is combined with interest, then lives can change. The action will transform the lives of many people. Now, the future of active citizenship in Nigeria today lies within the circle of not just young people, but the adults. I will say this because each time we talk about active citizenship, right, in terms of, let me use political participation, you find more people talking about young people not participating in politics. But the truth is, what role the older generation has played to cause this complacency among young people, the lack of interest. So there has to be this collaboration between the young people and the older people. And for that to happen, there will be a knowledge, transfer of knowledge, exchange of knowledge between these two generations. And when that happens, Nigeria will be a very vibrant country, and our democracy will be stronger. And because as I will always say, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So if you look at the definition of that, of what democracy is, the people is at the core. And in Nigeria today, we have more young people as the highest number of people in the country. So if many young people are active, our democracy will be stronger.
I agree with you, Ovo. The young people like myself and the adults like Andy, we need to come together to become active citizens.
I agree. Amos, I'll let you have 30 seconds for your closing words.
Okay. What I would like to say is both the government and those who have the means should give their support to young people. Because if we should have this kind of active citizens boot camp that is for 10,000 young people, when good people are taking actions, it doesn't really count. It's the negative ones that resound. These people will serve as light in their various communities, and that is how nations have been built.
That's a good place to leave it. And I must commend the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration for getting young people into the right positions in this time. We all were on the streets and we fought for Not Too Young to Run a couple of years ago, and that bill was passed. But now seeing the government actually giving young people leadership positions, not just special advisor positions, but decision-making positions, I think that's encouraging to more people who want to get involved. There's also a very thin line between activism and going on the bad side of the law. We need to be careful and ensure we protect ourselves because it's a risk and rewards game. And so in some cases, the risks are more than the rewards, but we need to make sure what we do, we toe the ethical line. On this show, we have decided that this year we will constantly remind you to hold your state governors and House of Reps and House of Assembly members and senators accountable. We spent too much time focusing on the center, which is Abuja, which is the federal government, without holding our states accountable. We must hold them accountable because we voted them in. And on behalf of Didi, we must fix the Naira value. This naira to dollar getting to 1,000 is unacceptable and it's affecting all of us. I love bread and the price of bread has gotten higher. And I'll continue to talk about this. We must fix our economy, we must produce locally, but we must also ensure that there's ease of doing business. That's much we can take on today's episode of The Weekend Show. You can follow us on social media at Weekend Show NG. On Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Andy Madaki, and you can follow this young woman
At Didi_ on X and Instagram.
Thanks to all our guests and to our viewers. We want to thank you for your time. Do have a blessed weekend and see you next week.